Swayman? Are you worried about Swayman? Because I'm pretty sure a little goaltender named Korpisalo just shut out the Capitals in his first start as a Boston Bruin.
Yeah, in a preseason game.
In his first start as a Boston Bruin.
He only made 7 saves.
Didn't allow a single goal.
He only played for 30 minutes.
A professional hockey game.
Are you doing okay?
Not one goal in a professional hockey game for the Boston Bruins in his first start.
He's coping. He's coping. He's coping.
Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team. That is a dub. Our first dub of the year. Preseason dub, but we take dubs as they come. This game was really exactly what we needed. Not because it was a dub, because like I said last video, who gives a flying... Trying not to swear as much. No one cares what the score is in a preseason game. We just don't. We care about individual performance. I'm just repeating myself from last time. And individually, there's a lot of players that did something we needed them to do. Certain players in particular, such as Fabian Lysell. Much, much better game for him. Such as Korpisalo, who, albeit not very busy, did put a little bit of pressure on here. Kind of squeezed into the inside track of the starting role. There's players who are making pushes early on in the preseason. Obviously, the preseason continues for another 2 weeks, so there's plenty of work to be done. But there's a few that we get to talk about and be pretty excited about. I'm going to change it up from last time, we're going to go through some names that are really easy to just kind of go, okay, all right, we need to, like almost you would write them off already for making the opening night roster, which you can technically do before the games even start, really, because there's ones that are very obviously not going to be playing in the NHL unless there are injuries this year. Just saying this year. Those players in particular, I think, are Harrison, McLaughlin. Those two were absolutely invisible for most of the night. Each had a moment, but other than that, really just not enough of a presence at all. Callahan was just outright not good. He was struggling throughout most of the night. Osterley was not impressive really at all, and there's so much competition defensively that it's really hard to see him get a call-up unless there are major injuries. The kind of grouping of Abate, Nelson, Tufte, all of them looked good. I don't want to say that they didn't make their presence known in this game, because every single one of them, I thought, pushed the pace, were physical, made their presence known. None of them, I think, have a chance of sniffing an opening night roster. I just don't think that's where they are. The skating isn't there for a couple of them. The skill isn't there for the others. Those three, although they did look solid, I don't think they really have a shot here, so there's not a lot of point in talking too much about them. With the grouping of them, I kind of tossed Brazeau into there as well. And Brazeau's where I start to get away from those who you can already write off. Because Brazeau, I would assume, is in major contention for bottom 6 minutes. I keep seeing people talk about him in the top 6. I don't understand that at all. I know you can look at the box score and go, pretty solid. Pretty dang good. Came out of nowhere, 26 years, I think he's 26, maybe 27 this year, but came out of nowhere last year and just made a really good impression. He doesn't have the skating ability to be a top 6 player. Flat out, he doesn't have the skating ability. He's not going to be able to mesh well with Coyle and Marchand. He's not a top 6 talent. That's not an insult to the guy. That's just not what he is. Everyone has their roles to play. He is in major contention, though, for that 3rd or 4th line, and he continues to look really good. He goes silent for large stretches, but silent in the offensive kind of way. For the most part, he's responsible through the neutral zone, and defensively, He does his job just fine, and he's always in front of the net when you finally do get a bottom six possession that's pushing the pace and pushing possession in the offensive zone. Plenty to like about his game. He did score a goal. He was the beneficiary of a very good Merkulov play, but I thought throughout he was solid. All four of those guys that I did mention, Tufte, Nelson, Abate, and Brazeau, worked their ass off every shift. Really, really impressed with how much physicality and aggression they're bringing to simply make the team. It's nice to see. And it's also nice to see that these preseason games haven't been a joke. Now, we're going to get to a couple later on where the roster is made up of much more NHL players, and they're simply not going to be going 100%. It'll be closer to a joke for those, but there's still going to be guys in the lineup trying to earn it. So we get to enjoy that. Johnson is one step higher than Brazeau, not in the sense that he's closer to making the team, but that their eyes are going to be on him feverishly throughout the preseason because he's trying to fight for a contract. And he had a solid enough year last year. Again, a high shooting percentage. We've been over all this stuff with Johnson. I don't see anything that's separating him. He was good. He was fine, right? Made veteran plays with the puck. Obviously, the hockey IQ is there. His foot speed isn't. His physicality is fine, but not jumping off the page. He's fine. I just don't see him separating himself enough for us to spend a contract spot and more money on him to bring him in. Like, why would we spend cap space? Now, realistically, with a deal like this, it doesn't really spend cap space because whoever you're slotting him in for, that guy gets sent down. Those cap hits are going to be very similar. So it really technically isn't spending more money in that sense. That being said, I just don't see why you would need to sign him right now. Obviously, he is brand new to this squad. He hasn't built up chemistry with anybody, so I'm not writing him off. Eyes are going to be on him. But so far, although he's been fine, I don't see anything that's like, man, we really better sign that guy to a PTO. Much like we felt about Heinen last year. He just looked great, and we wanted to get him in. Johnson hasn't done that yet. Higher up on that list is Trent Frederick, who was playing closer to half speed, I think. I don't think he was all in on this one. Totally fine with that. He has a position pretty locked down. It does look like they're trying to get him more center reps, which now that I say that out loud, just really makes sense because Patra really might be starting the year on the right side. We'll see how that goes. Frederick wasn't pushing pace. That's fine. I'm not looking for these guys to go balls to the wall in the second preseason game, right? We already have Elias Lindholm. There's news on that. He is day-to-day but won't play this week. That's already been confirmed from Monty. So you don't want to have injuries mounting already. With that being said, Carlo and Lindholm, obviously not going 100%. Taking it half speed, totally fine again. These just aren't guys I'm concerned about it. They'll slowly ramp it up, especially in Lindholm's case where he's a veteran. He's trying to figure out what his role this year is going to be because I doubt it's going to be as offensive as 2 years ago, but it certainly shouldn't be as defensively focused as last year. So there's still going to be conversations about how he's deployed. Carlo's going to be his most consistent partner, which I'm sure is why they played them both in this game. Neither one of them really pushing the pace, though, and I'm totally fine with that. On the defensive side of the puck, though, there is one player who's consistently been impressive to me. He's played the first two preseason goals. That's Billy Sweezy. He is a 6'1", 206-pound, 28-year-old right-shot defenseman who I've just really liked. I think his game has been super consistent. He was an absolute pylon in the last goal of the game, but it felt like everyone had kind of stopped playing a little bit there. So I'm not really holding that against him in the final 3 minutes of a 60-minute game. Obviously, if this was a regular season game, there'd be much more harsh things to say about it. But for the most part, I've really liked what he showed so far through the first two games. I think Wotherspoon has a legitimate competition going on for that 7th D spot, and that's kind of a guy to watch. Not the most exciting position battle on the planet, 7th defenseman, but one worthwhile to keep an eye on. Patrick Brown is the last not super interesting guy to talk about here. Patrick Brown looked way more like the player that I had remembered from years past than the guy that I saw in the first preseason game where he was really good. He did have an absolute rocket that went basically Bardowski. So I want to give him credit for that. He was a mess with the board play. I mean, I couldn't believe how poorly he did with winning board battles when the puck was on his stick. The guy's just not my favorite Bruin, and I would really like to just move away from him altogether. We have plenty of options in the bottom six. I don't know. I probably should have listed him back down when we were talking about a few of the other guys, but Patrick Brown, no, thank you. No, thank you. Hell of a shot in this one, though. Still awesome goal. I don't want to see him on the ice too much. There's 3 players we're going to talk about. 2 of them we talked about last video, but again, these are your most important position battles going on, basically. First one, Merkulov. Again, a lot of nice moments. None better than a really impressive net drive where he looked like he was going to be forced wide and around the net. In the last second that he could have possibly made this pass, goes backhand around the back, flings the puck up to the bottom of the left circle, where Brazeau continued to follow the play, gets a backhander, high glove. Great goal. Awesome goal. And Merkulov made that happen. Merk had a ton of these moments where he created chances, a lot of great vision. It's not enough to separate right now. He has to flat out beat someone for a role on the starting roster in the top 9. And we basically have 10 talented guys going for those spots, maybe 11. It's going to be really hard for him to displace one. And although he's looked good, I'm not saying he hasn't looked good. It hasn't been enough, I think, to dislodge someone from a position. Because you got to remember, the people he's trying to dislodge, first of all, he's trying to suppress Lysell to prevent him taking that spot, that open spot in the second right wing. But also, the third line right now, Trent Frederick, Morgan Geekie, Matthew Poitras, Justin Brazeau. And there's 4 guys that are vying for those spots. Poitras still maybe the second right wing. We don't know there. But there's a lot of talented, established guys ahead of Merkulov, who also add a physical element, who add that kind of aggression, that protection. Merk can't do that. He simply is not big enough to do that. He's a scoring winger or center. That's how he'd like to play his game. I don't know if that scoring really translates to a high level like the NHL, but that's what his focus would be. He hasn't done enough to dislodge. It's still very early. He's earned another look, I think. But he's going to need to have a pretty massive game unless he's really impressing in camp. He's good. He's been really good. Just not great. And I think he's going to need to be great. He's going to get so frustrated if he gets sent down again, though. That's something I'm a little worried about, but we'll see what happens there. Korpisalo. Really the biggest question, right? DiPietro was not awesome once again in the second half of the game. Some good moments, some rough ones too. Korpisalo, I believe, only saw 6 or 7 shots. 7 shots. Wasn't busy at all. But 3 or 4 of them were high danger chances. Multiple breakaways, and he was cool, calm, collected, stayed in position, made the save. I mean, that's what you want to see, right? The guy is in the moment. He's playing well. His rebound control was what you wanted. He seemed to track the puck really well. Again, not busy. But if you're not going to be busy, you better make all the saves, and those are real high danger chances. That's really hard to do, too, when you're going cold. It's been 6 minutes since you faced a shot, and then all of a sudden there's a breakaway you have to stop. That's every goalie tells you, and yeah, I don't know this personally, but if every goalie says it, I'm going to believe it. It sucks going cold and then having to jump into action. Your focus wanes. Well, this was exactly the start that Bussy wanted to camp. Just some difficult rubber, but you found a way to make the save. Korpisalo found a way to make every save, even though he wasn't busy. He, after just 2 games, we're still early, has certainly grabbed on to the inside track for the starting role if Swayman is not ready for game 1. We'll see how this continues, but it's a really good start for Korpisalo. And then there's Fabian Lysell, who needed a much better effort this game. This morning, Monty talked about how he's just not seen enough. And that was an overarching statement. That wasn't just about game 1 of the preseason. That was also about practice. Was not seeing enough. I think he saw enough tonight. I think this was an effort that you could certainly go, okay, yeah, this is what we were hoping for. He had a goal, 2 shots on net. First period, didn't love it. Didn't think it was bad. Thought it was definitely better than the first game, but still a little hesitant, still a little shaky in areas. Not super physical, which we know that's not going to be his game. But was still trying to win these one-on-ones and was losing them. And all of a sudden, second period comes around, and it's like a light bulb went off. 200-foot presence. Zone entries were clean, and there were several of them. And instead of going into traffic through these zone entries and attempting to beat the guy in front of him, he was like, fine, I'll use my touch. And so he was finding teammates, trusting teammates with the puck, pushing it off to the wing, but with his speed, it could be a little quick give and go. It was excellent hockey. His back check was awesome. One of the things that really impressed me in this whole game. Now, look, he's not going to be a defensive guy, but his back check through the neutral zone with his skating and speed, I can't tell you how many times he intercepted a pass that someone just didn't believe he could catch up to or just didn't see him coming. The amount of turnovers he forced in the neutral zone was really impressive. He was a consistent offensive threat. He was consistently creating chances for his line mates. His shot, as I mentioned, he got a goal. It was a wide open shot in the left dot. It was an easy pass to make, but he had to settle a tough pass. Callahan kind of biffed the pass. Had to settle it. Johnson comes in with a screen, and he goes absolutely sniper-rooney and cheese! Top blocker corner. Just a gorgeous shot. His presence altogether, awesome. And it was 200 feet. It was 200 feet. Even at the end of the game, now he was winning a couple battles for loose pucks and open ice. At the end of the game, he won 2 different board battles. And I was like, okay, hold on. If you're going to start winning some board battles, we're in really good shape here. This was a statement game for him. He created, he was consistent, he showed up and looked like he wanted it. We needed that. He's going to get another game or 2 to really show what he can do. I doubt he plays 3 in a row, but I'm really, really excited that there was more progress there because this was starting to turn into a bit of a bummer. We'll see if he can string it together, but this was a good sign. And all in all, a really good game for the Boston Bruins, right? It was a 4-2 win. There was some consistency from players you wanted to see it from. People are taking the next step. People are starting to separate themselves from the herd. There's a lot of progress happening early in camp. The first round of cuts technically already happened because Loke Johansson already got sent to the league that he's supposed to be playing in, which you'll remember was our, I'm going to get this wrong, 6th round draft pick? I'm going to say 6th. 6th round draft pick this most recent year. Young guy. I was kind of bummed. I thought he would get a game, but maybe there's a reason he couldn't have. I don't know. There's rules and stipulations, but everything. That being said, he's already gone. That's fine. There's a lot of talk about how impressive he was for such a young guy and for a 6th round pick. So we'll see how he develops. All in all, great game. I'm excited about it. Really excited about Lysell. Really hoping Merkulov pops off one of these upcoming games. And I want to see more of Korpisalo as well with a busier night. But that's a really good start. You can't ask for much more than that. Yeah, he only faced a couple of shots, but he stopped them. What else do you want? Go Bees. Go Bees!